I feel too busy. So how can we get out of this busyness trap? Yeah, I get it. You're too busy. Everyone's too busy. Actually, you're probably thinking right now that you're too busy to watch a short video about being too busy. These days you meet a friend, you ask how she is, you just know she's going to say, "Oh, I'm so busy." And it's annoying because it sounds like what's been called busy bragging. You know, the way that a certain kind of busyness, not the busyness that comes from having to work 2 jobs in fast food restaurants just to make ends meet, but the busyness of having a high status job, family, household, the rest of it, it's become a kind of status symbol. Yet the flip side is when I get asked how I'm doing, I instinctively want to say, "Oh, I'm so busy too." And that's not because I'm consciously bragging. That's because I feel too busy. So how can we get out of this busyness trap? I think we need to understand how busyness really works in this era of infinite information and constant connectivity. We still have this simplistic notion that life is a bit like packing a suitcase for a trip. You've got a fixed amount of space and a fixed amount of tasks to try to fit in. And there are the organized people who fit everything in, and the disorganized people who end up sitting on the suitcase to try to force it shut. Maybe that was true when we all worked on farms or as ironmongers, you know, when physical resources set the limit on what we could do. But now, for all of us who work with information and computers, there's no ceiling on how much we could theoretically do. And in a consumer economy, there's always a better brand to buy, a lifestyle upgrade to make, which costs more, which means working more in order to earn more. And what happens in this situation is that the old ways of managing time, which were all about becoming more efficient, they start to break down. If you get really efficient at answering your email, you won't be rewarded by an easier life. You'll get more email. While those lazy types who do ignore their email, so long as they don't get fired, they're the ones who'll get the easy life, because if you don't respond to emails, often people find someone else to answer their questions. And I think this generalizes to the whole of work. The more efficient you get, the more you're asked to do, the more stuff you attract into your orbit. So what is the answer? I think part of it is realizing that getting it all done is an illusion. You'll never get to the summit of that mountain because the climb goes on forever. And worse, all that climbing is a miserable way to live, focused entirely on the future. Instead, I think we have to learn, if we can, to choose what's most important to us, schedule time for that stuff, and then be prepared to let some other things fall by the wayside, even if they're worthwhile things. One good trick comes from a recent book called Overwhelmed. The author there stresses the importance of what she calls compartmentalized time. That's the idea of putting boundaries around parts of time and trying to do just one thing in each period. Because a lot of the stress that we feel doesn't come from having too much to do so much as that constant feeling that everything we have to do is crowding in on every bit of time. There's also evidence that if you act like you have an abundance of time by volunteering at a charity or helping your friend move house, you'll actually end up feeling like you have more time. The big takeaway here, I think, is that solving the busyness problem for most of us isn't a matter of trying to fit everything in. It's about first seeing that the game is rigged and then realizing that we're not going to get everything done. This was a Guardian comment video. If you liked it, subscribe down here if you have the time. Okay, I've got to go. I'm actually really busy.
2014, the year women won.
Women, hang up your pantsuits. In 2014, we won!